And next we have 8-Bit Bastards Level 2, 8-Bit Bastards Book Number 2, written by Joshua Mason. This is 222 pages, $2.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the author's description. Sean and the Bastards have entered the Bitrealm, and so far it hasn't been all one-ups and treasure. They've tracked Pliny down to a castle in the mountains to the north, and they'll need every bit of their skills honed while playing some of the first and greatest video games to survive its depths. But it won't be easy. The castle soon takes its toll, separating the party and pinning them against some of the most dangerous creatures they've faced yet. Creatures that may not be what they seem. Something has been tormenting the souls of Afterall, transforming them into shadows of their former selves, and with every twist and turn the council throws at them, that something is getting closer. Add in a devious AI, a skeleton who's watched too much TV, and more retro gaming goodness than you can shake a joystick at, and you have 8-Bit Bastards Level 2. So there we go. I liked book 1. I thought it was a very interesting mix of like speculative fiction for the future in a VR, like where people are uploading their minds, and some 8-bit fun, like a short levelish thing, but those are definitely RPG parts there. Book 2 loses me, and that's unfortunate. It just dropped just below my level of like, oh, I'm having a good time with this still, and that's mostly because of the RPG progression. Most of the RPG progression in book 2 happens in like a couple different scenes where the main characters are power leveling. And it honestly didn't feel like the RPG stuff really mattered to the story anymore. A lot of it was summarized. It does exist, which is why this is still an RPG. But again, it doesn't feel like it's really impactful to the story. It's just like, oh, it felt like it kind of had to be there. But the emphasis was more on the retro gaming, the adventuring kind of stuff inside the game, and kind of this cyberpunk storyline that comes out. And I just wasn't a fan of that cyberpunk storyline, which is why it being a major part of the story is like, oh, that's not as fun to me as like the general RPG progression and adventuring that I did, and the actual leveling up mattering and them getting class skills and stuff that you found in book 1. A lot of that kind of disappears. There's still a lot of the same things that were good in book 1. For example, the 8-bit references, jokes, puzzles, all that is there. However, that's what's there. You're there in that 8-bit world the entire time in the story this time. There's no contrast to that stuff like you had in book 1. Like being in book 1, it's this very large, expansive world with a lot of other elements. I think I need this nice history and background development for the characters. But it's set in this much larger world, and much larger world with like these different little stories. And that was a nice little contrast to just like this 8-bit universe that ends up for the rest of the quest line. And in book 2, it's just that. So 8-bit world, I'm like, oh, okay, I was hoping there's going to be a little more variation. And again, the novel definitely shifts towards this cyberpunk storyline. Again, that didn't just work for me. Overall, I like the jokes and the old school gaming references, but it wasn't enough to carry the storyline for me when there was, again, limited action, more limited RPG progression, and again, the cyber twist thing that I didn't really like. So for me, it drops to a 6 out of 10. Again, that's not a bad score. It just means that it didn't work for me. Might work for you, though, if you like those other aspects. And the RPG progression just doesn't matter so much. So that's 8-Bit Bastards, level 2 of the 8-Bit Bastards series called, with the score 6 out of 10.